Coleman-Ross.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
TV on the radio.
With Hamish Coleman-Ross.
From stuff.co.nz.
Because there's a bunch of stuff to talk about when it comes to television at the moment. G'day there, Hamish.
Good morning, Wammo. What was with the music? It was very, I don't know, I'm used to a more mellow, kind of half-chilled environment. I came in here and I felt a little overdressed.
A little something for the long weekend.
A little long weekend.
Yeah.
Ah, it's like that, huh?
Getting it off in the right foot.
It's been a massive week in TV, and for reasons that all come around numbers, to be honest. It's all been numbers this week.
A numbers week. Okay, all right. Well, it's been 50 years.
50 years of TV in New Zealand, which is a huge milestone.
TVNZ decided to put on a bit of a show.
They did. Well, this show, I don't know, did you see it?
I just chose consciously not to tune in.
Right. Well, the sad thing is that they put together this idea. It all had to be very last minute, apparently. Because apparently they found out that Prime was doing a 7-part series about the history of television in New Zealand. Maybe the history of television full stop. I don't know. I haven't seen the show yet, obviously. So I thought, we better do something. So they kind of threw together what was this strange kind of company quiz show.
Yeah.
And it didn't really work for me.
With some semi-celebs, apparently.
Well, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for bloody anybody I've talked to. They're defending it, saying that, it rated well, to which I've kind of turned around and said, yeah, because everybody watched expecting something decent.
Yeah, which was the feedback. I spoke to my folks about this, because they tuned in, and then they spoke to all the people that they work with as well, and that was the general consensus. They thought it was terrible, but they kept hanging in there because they thought they deserved better.
Absolutely. What I think it's indicative of is the fact that TVNZ has lost the ability to internally produce their own kind of television. When you whittle it down, at the end of the day, TVNZ now is just a broadcaster with a news service.
Yeah.
And they are not making their own programming in the way that they were in the 80s and the 70s.
Maybe they didn't really want to show off the heyday, because it would show them up now.
That's a pretty good point. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, I just don't think it worked on any real level. I think that's something they should be completely ashamed of, and they should maybe think a little bit harder before they do the 60th. They've got 10 years to get ready.
Said in the classic Target phrase, shame on you, TVNZ.
Shame on you, TVNZ. Well, shame on you, TV3 and Target.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you know, but last year they did a program on cafes, and they did this Cafe Cezanne, which is on Ponsonby Road up here in Auckland, and they found that there was a large amount of fecal matter in the food. Turns out that it was a large amount of fecal matter in the food, just it wasn't from Cafe Cezanne, because the independent testers had got the labels mixed up. So
first of all, the whole idea of fecal matter on a large amount of fecal matter suggests to me that someone wiped their bum with a chicken. But besides that, yes.
It's another story. That's a whole other story. So Cafe Cezanne obviously were very upset, and they complained to BSA. And as of yesterday, it was announced that the complaint has not only been upheld, but TV3, the broadcaster, not the production company, TV3, the broadcaster, has been fined $38,000.
That's quite a lot.
This is a hell of a lot. This is one of the highest fines we've ever seen handed down by the BSA.
That's an average paid employee, possibly.
Well, absolutely. That's probably an executive's role these days in TV. So they've done this. Now, there's two problems I have with this. Number one is I believe that the money is going to the government. The money's not going back to Cafe Cezanne, which kind of seems a bit bizarre to me. Yes, I asked somebody about it yesterday, and they said, no, it will go to the government. It goes to the BSA.
I assumed that there would have been costs and losses.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But that hasn't been made overtly clear. But the second thing is that in that episode where Cafe Cezanne was featured, it wasn't just the fecal matter that was the issue. Fact of the matter was the cafe itself was quite dirty, and the service was really, really poor. So the fact that they were making this program, sort of having a bitch on Cafe Cezanne, fecal matter in your food is bloody serious. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Cafe Cezanne is 100% victim here, in so much as they failed basic things like having a clean area to serve people in and having good customer service.
But that was separate to the food issue.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I'm just pointing out that they are not 100% squeaky clean in this. It wasn't though everything about their cafe was perfect except for the food.
But see, on the flip side of this, the Target were meant to come back with some kind of apology and actually say that food was not from Cafe Cezanne, right?
Yep.
And they didn't do that. They kind of insinuated that it wasn't, but then actually say that it wasn't. And in my mind, Target become bullies in that context. You know, and they have a lot of power. A lot of people watch that program.
Well, I mean, as I've said it before, that program goes to 40 episodes a year, you know. It's a big show. But I think this is a huge warning to shows like Target, like Close Up, you know, any current affairs shows that would pull the similar stunts off. Must be bloody careful and might mix up the labels.
And if I was you, Hamish, on the way out of the studio here, I wouldn't walk past cafes as hard.
No, that's all right. I'm driving today. Okay, so that's that. So
last night you went to Lates at the museum.
I did, which was talking about innovation in media.
Yeah.
Which was really, really interesting. On the panel, we had Eric, who's last name I can't remember, from DVNZ Digital, Brent Impey, former head of Media Works, some academic dude from AUT, and Colin Peacock from another radio show called Media Watch.
Good show, actually.
Well, it's like this, but just 10 times longer.
That's right. No, 10 times shorter, I think.
No, it's quite long, Media Watch. Anyway, it was a really interesting discussion, I found, anyway. But I don't think other people did. You know, I noted quite a few people from print were either not interested when I spoke to them afterwards, or they were getting up and walking out during the talk.
Well, not their industry, I suppose.
No, I suppose not. But they really were concentrating on television. There were some really interesting bits that got brought up. And one thing that I really cottoned on to was Brett MP was saying that, that basically the argument came down to this. Fergie, the sting with Fergie, the former Duchess of York.
Yeah.
As a news story versus the amount of coverage it got versus the oil spill that continuing in the Gulf of Mexico and the amount of media that got. Now, they were saying, we put Fergie on at 7 o'clock on Close Up and it's going to rate.
Yeah.
If we put a politician and we talk about something like the BP oil spill, it won't rate. I found this really defeatist, to be honest. Like, I constantly, you know, working with staff and doing news, one of the things that you sometimes have to do is you have to polish a turd. You'll sometimes work a story that is, on the outset, not all that appealing, maybe, or all that entertaining, but it's still important to tell it. So you have to figure out the right way in which to tell it. This was something that they weren't really acknowledging. They were sort of saying, put a politician on at 7 o'clock and that'll fail. I was saying to myself, but hang on, what if you put on what if you had somebody like Barack Obama in New Zealand? You know, what if we put on someone with that kind of character?
Well, he's a celebrity, isn't it?
But yeah, you see what I mean? So, but maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe we need to celebritise our politicians if we're actually going to get any way of issues getting out there.
I think you're heading down the wrong road there when you have to sex up what is hard news. You know, I don't think it should be sexed up.
Well, but maybe it's in the delivery is the point I'm trying to make. Is that just because a politician shouldn't necessarily at 7 o'clock shouldn't equal ratings death?
Yeah,
I just think that's really sad.
But it comes down to public versus private ownership of the broadcast.
And one of the things I found out this week, which kind of upset me a little, was the largest rating online video for TVNZ ever has been the Huggaginga Day video.
Which, funny enough, didn't happen on the MediaWorks side, which owns that radio station. Yeah. That could have, that relationship could have happened there, but instead it was basically the competitor that ran with it.
So the big thing that MP was talking about, though, was the monetisation of television. You know, where's the money going to come from? I mean, something he said, you know, Outrageous Fortune, for instance, would never have been fundable through advertising. Yes, now, because it's wildly popular. But when it first started out, had they not had that government support, a show like that would have never been made.
No, that's correct. Yeah.
And so you look at that and you go, wow. So the models and structures for the funding of the future of television are really not firm or known at all. People are starting to talk about subscriptions, you know. Is it just going to be, you know, is everyone one day basically just going to have to pay for TV blatantly, much the same as people who use the Sky network going to have to pay?
Well, people will, I think, pay for quality at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's also been the argument, and we talk about it a lot, you know, there's different shows that you and I know about, or some of us have watched half of it, and that there's just too much content out there now, and what it's done is fractured the audience. We used to have this shared common, you know, viewing experience where everyone watched the A-Team, everyone watched Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah. But now, you know, it's sort of, have you seen The Wire? Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, these are great shows.
It's out there? Yeah.
But, you know, have you seen them? Well, maybe not. So I think the old thing, and you said it when I came into the studio this morning, was that someone had told you it was last night was a bunch of old men fighting over the carcass of
old media.
Of old media. And to an extent, yeah, it was. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't start thinking about where the future of it's going. I mean, for me, one of the questions I really wanted to ask the panel last night was where's the future of television journalists go? You know, a television journalist, when you look at them now, they're younger, they're prettier, they're less experienced. And what does that mean? Does that mean that that we're going to have to kind of ditch our journalists after a certain amount of time?
Well, that's only time will tell for that one as well.
We'll find out. So anyway, I guess we're celebrating 50 years past, and we're looking into the future, and the future is anything but certain, but it will definitely be in 3D.
And it's hopefully not all of it, but it's certainly going to be exciting. Thanks so much, Hamish Coleman-Ross from stuff.co.nz, Talking TV there. Hamish CR on Twitter.